Well, it's the ending that many weren't sure would come. We have some new information today. The search for missing boater Frank Di Filippo has finally come to a close. Today, his body was recovered just 3 miles from where he vanished on the Wisconsin River when his boat capsized back in April. WMTV's Shayna Najawan is back from the Wisconsin Dells today and joins us live in studio now with how this emotional recovery is resonating far beyond just the family.
The discovery brings a mix of heartbreak and healing. Since April, search teams have combed through the river in hopes of bringing Frank home. And now those hopes have turned into reality. For nearly 90 days, search crews from volunteers to specialized recovery teams scoured miles of the Wisconsin River, holding on to hope that Frank would be brought home. The river's challenges tested every effort, but despite strong currents, debris, and time, the mission never lost focus. Keith Cormacan, who leads the nonprofit Bruce's Legacy, called the recovery a significant moment, and a moment that many feared might never come.
3 months into it, there's a point of realizing that long ago that he may never get found. There's cases that we know about in that river and any of these rivers that just there's a lot of cases out there that they never are found. So yeah, this is just huge.
Cormacan says his team has been in contact with the family throughout the search and that the community's support was a driving force throughout the months of uncertainty. Live at the News Now desk, Shayna Najawan, WMTV 15 News.
Shayna, thank you. We want to break down for you the timeline of events as this nearly 3-month search took place. It began on April 4th when Frank, along with 2 family members, were fishing on the Wisconsin River when their boat capsized. One person was able to get to shore safely, while 2, including Frank, were missing. The next day that Luis Di Filippo was recovered, we later then found out that weekend the identity of Frank, or Francesco, the man that they had recovered the day before was his grandfather. 1 week later, Frank's family and girlfriend talked with us, sharing their memories and thoughts after a long week of search efforts. For months, the search continued with many volunteers and other crews joining in until today, when police were able to recover Frank from the Wisconsin River, this coming as Friday, marking the 3 months since the day he disappeared.